welcome to another ohmTown on Twitch. Today is February 6th, 2022. It's 6 p.m. Eastern. And here's all the headlines, all the news that I'm going to go over for the aggregator located at ohmTown.com. So, like usual, I'm going to go over really quick what ohmTown is. And since I'm live streaming this and then I'm going to post it later in a few days over to YouTube and also on Apple podcasts, I'm going to go over this really quick. ohmTown.com aggregates news from a whole bunch of places around the world into 6 main categories, and under these 6 categories are groups. These groups have forums, discussion boards where you can go and chat. It's brand new, about 30 days old, and you can sign up right now and become a citizen of ohmTown. A few things are disabled, but there's gamification stuff, right? So you can earn points, and then eventually you'll be able to convert those points into products or services at a later date. Can't promise when that's going to happen. It's been operational for a little while, and I've disabled it for a short time while we do some more testing. That said, these 6 categories that news gets thrown into is create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. I've chosen a selection of headlines and snippets from these various sources that I aggregate from. And this site was built because I consume a lot of information, and it helps me out in what I do every day. These are also shows that I want to bring to Twitch under the ohmTown umbrella. And so what you'll hear about are these groups that are also up and coming shows. Those shows need hosts and co-hosts. So if you're interested, contact me and maybe we can get you into the seat of host or co-host. Okay, now that's all out of the way. Let's get on with the news. These are the headlines that are at ohmTown, and they are aggregated from various places. So I will tell you where it's aggregated from and who wrote the article, and I'll give you some context about why I chose it. For the most part, it's because I'm just trying to draw attention to various elements of technology, business, and society and how they intersect. It may not all come out in a single discussion, so I urge you to come over to Twitch, 6 p.m. Eastern, every day. I almost missed it yesterday, but we've moved past that. And if you're curious about that, then throw a comment in our chat, and happy to discuss it. This first headline is actually about cryptocurrency, and I'm gonna click the link and it'll take you over to New York Times, and they always have a cool graphic, and we don't grab the graphic over at ohmTown. We only grab a little snippet of information, and it says maybe there's a use for crypto after all. Helium, a wireless network powered by cryptocurrency, hints at the practical promise of decentralized services. I am still waiting for my Helium miner, which is a crypto trading, a crypto mining box that acts as an access point. So it says here in the article, on a basic level, Helium is a decentralized wireless network for quote unquote Internet of Things devices powered by cryptocurrency. In fact, you can actually go, if you search for what Helium is, you can go and look at helium.com, but essentially there are these hotspots that are scattered all over wherever somebody wants to spin up a Helium network, and they mine cryptocurrency while they're being used. And it's quite fascinating that it's a decentralized network. That said, I don't know. I've been waiting for my miners to show up, and I don't know much beyond the cursory look. And you can find out more about that. But if you are interested in it, you can still get into this at a relatively early stage of Helium's growth. We will see how far it goes and how much it is adopted, because the valuation of cryptocurrency is really predicated on how much it's being used somewhere. So Bitcoin is kind of the aspirational position for all the rest of the cryptocurrencies, or some modicum level therein. Not everybody aspires to be the top. In business, we call that a lifestyle business. And some people just want to noodle around with it. Try it out. But let's keep on moving. Check out Helium wherever you want to. This New York Times article was written by Kevin Roos. And you can go and check it out either by way of ohmTown or go directly to New York Times. Either way, I encourage you to read the article and read more about it. Cryptocurrency is largely here to stay until government agencies decide that they're just not interested in allowing it to be legally utilized. And that will be a tough decision to make, because it's not going to make any friends, that's for sure. This next article is why Wall Street is suddenly bullish on work-life balance. Quote, even huge bonuses can't offset plunging morale at investment banks and the rush to escape a toxic work culture. This is another New York Times article. Like all the other links that are on ohmTown that say visit the source, I'll highlight it here. You can't see my cursor. When you click that, it'll open up a page to the source so that you can go and read it and see the pretty graphics and find out who wrote it. In this case, it's Ginia Belafonte. Speaking both anecdotally and based on what I've read elsewhere, the pandemic has basically led everyone to firmly understand that where possible, nobody needs to go to an office to still get stuff done. And I say stuff because I'm not quite sure who is watching, but I would probably be more colorful in my verbiage. Basically, you can do your job anywhere as long as you don't have to have hands directly on a product that's being handed to a customer. If it isn't personalized, then it's mass produced. If it's mass produced, then it can be largely automated. And if it can be automated, that means that there doesn't need to be a human there. If it's personalized, then a lot of it has to be hand done, and therein is the rub with automation. That said, in those cases, it's usually a person has to be somewhere centralized to make economic sense. Otherwise, things have to be shipped from one place to another. For me, I would be willing to send products to someone else at their home for them to make the item in a personalized fashion, simply so that they can maintain work-life balance. Imagine getting back, an hour each way to and from work, right? Not to mention having to fill up the gas tank periodically, depending on how long the trip is. I used to spend 2 hours plus in traffic. After several compromises, my commute's 15 minutes maximum. But you sometimes pay a price for that type of convenience. And then the pandemic hit, and my commute is zero. It's 25 feet. And that has saved countless hours over the last 2 years. Not to mention, I get to see my family more often. I get to see my kid more often. and I get more work done because I no longer have to walk or travel somewhere because I can just fire up Zoom. So without going through this entire article, which I encourage you to do, people would rather have their work-life balance than pay. That's not everybody is like that. So depending on the culture of the workplace, they may issue this telework mentality and say, well, we want your butt in seat. And thus you lose talented people and hopefully get talented people back in place. You'll definitely get people who are motivated to make more money simply because you're getting rid of somebody who doesn't want more money in exchange for more convenience for being at home. So this article will undoubtedly go into greater detail. One of the quotes here is, in December, Bloomberg News set forth analyzing Wall Street's, quote, existential angst, end quote, at the culmination of a year in which the financial industry might instead have felt self-congratulatory. A robust market and resurgence of deal making led major banks to near record profits. Bonuses were expected to soar. We will see what happens with what might be a huge retraction from an increase in interest rates. This next article is over on Mobile, and obviously when you click the source, you go to New York Times. This is a woman tricked to believe she was a DEA agent trainee, official says. This got my attention simply because of that. A man in Oregon duped a woman for about a year, taking her for ride-alongs and giving her a fake Drug Enforcement Administration badge, according to court records. I don't know how this can happen, but this article is written by Eduardo Medina. Suspicions arose last week when Sergeant Matthew Jacobson of the Portland Police Bureau in Oregon saw a man and woman standing near a silver Dodge Charger with red and blue emergency lights and a tactical vest in its trunk with a DEA police patch. Okay. Asked them if they were federal agents. Replied that they were indeed feds. Interesting. So, how to go from possibly innocuous con artist trying to meet a woman into federal crimes. Just pretend to be a quote-unquote fed. He gave her a DEA badge to use on ride-alongs at night when he could take her to speak with homeless people to turn them into confidential informants. Wow, this guy was living his own dream and dragged a woman into it. And it gets worse. So, interesting situation, but I thought that it was interesting enough to throw up here on ohmTown. It's a New York Times article, so go and check it out. Again, you can always click on the link on ohmTown. That'll take you there. To find it, though, you'll have to go into Mobile and then scroll through all of the discussions. They are all there, thousands upon thousands of articles. This next article is in the group Smack Talk, which focuses on Apple and in the context of Apple, its competitors. Peloton could be bought by Apple to boost healthcare initiatives. This was something that I had started talking about day before yesterday, I believe it was. If anybody's going to buy Peloton, it's going to be Apple, because the Peloton brand, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I have heard, there could be other discussion, of course, that I don't know about. But Peloton is a premium product, premium services. It has brand recognition. When you think about exercise bikes, you pretty much go straight for Peloton. Um, there are others, of course, but um, nobody talks about the competition to Peloton. They talk about Peloton. Um, so I would think that it would be a great service to add to Apple. They have some high quality products in their health videos that they've got right now. Adding a live component to it is going to be more expensive than I think Apple is used to for its health side, because what they have now are videos, not live. But I think that it would be great to extend its reach into this premium market of exercise and health and fitness. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Apple actually purchased it. Discussion about it and the provenance of that source, and in this particular case, my source is Apple Insider. I don't know what their sources are for it, but Malcolm Owen is the one that wrote the article. Depending on the provenance of the sources that are providing this information, if the market catches wind that Apple is interested in purchasing Peloton, let's look at let me check something real quick. So Peloton Interactive right now, it was trading at $25. And when this broke, let's see. Yeah, I don't have the exact, actually I do. So yeah, the stock started slowly trending up from under $24 right around the time this broke. It was actually a little lower, but not until after hours trading did it jump up, and it's currently in after hours trading at $32. So it's a $6 jump, almost an $8 jump. At one point it actually hit $34 from $24. So, a $10 jump on the rumor, and that's pretty typical. And I would anticipate that a discussion like this publicly has pulled the profit out of that stock until the rumors are quashed or they're confirmed. And they may have been confirmed because of that $10 jump in after hours trading. Right now it's at 31 in after hours. We'll see what happens. This next article is over in the Hatch Ideas group. That's actually the name of my company, and I do strategic management. And I plan on talking on the weekends, having a show specifically about that strategic management, talking with people about their businesses. And in this particular instance, U.S. store owners are worried about shoplifting. What can be done? Retailers say shoplifting has become a growing problem. So how are merchants fighting back? Well, I can tell you from experience that where you build a better mousetrap, better mice show up. So unless you change the dynamic so that people who are shoplifting can be tackled and held accountable for the shoplifting in the short term, immediate term, you're only going to be able to stop shoplifting retroactively, which means you might let them leave the store and they get caught by police at a later date because you ultimately identify them, but there is an extraordinary amount of cost trying to trace somebody down. It's almost not worth it, so you write it off. Losses lead to increased costs, so the margins get smaller, or you pass those losses on to customers. If you raise it too high, then you lose customers to competition who aren't suffering from that loss. There's a lot of mechanics involved here. But depending on the state, store owner has the ability to actually put hands on a shoplifter. It is not unheard of. It has been largely discounted because of liability. If a shopkeeper if a shop owner, I should say, if a shop owner allows somebody who's working there to actually touch someone and something happens to that shoplifter, they can actually sue or harm that person, that employee, as well as the company. So again, there's a lot of machinations there. Um, and this article is from the Guardian, and it's written by Gene Marks. And I am not quite sure why they would throw this in here. There's a war happening right now. No, it's not in Ukraine, at least not yet. It's on Main Street. Weird tie-in, but I'll quickly move past that. But yeah, there's a lot of theft taking place, and that's what it is. Shoplifting is theft, and calling it shoplifting is softening the blow. It's in-store theft. Um, and historically, people have been in some states, it has been legal all along. It's nothing more than store policy for an employee. You have the right to stop somebody from shoplifting, and even if they're accused, if it rises to the level of a lawsuit, then that's yet another piece of the machinations. So it shifted from when I was in retail, I could grab somebody. It was without a doubt possible, and I was not told not to. And then at the end of my retail career, we were being told, just let them leave. It's cheaper than the doctor's office if somebody draws a weapon on me or something like that. So let's move on. This will undoubtedly pop up again as time goes on, because criminals don't care about the law. They are seeking an opportunity. And that again leads to another thing. If you follow this ideology of associative thinking, you can end up talking about how the reason why somebody commits a crime, although there are many reasons, much of those reasons involve education and opportunity to make a wage that's livable, which they go hand in hand. Not for everybody, again, but society isn't just a single type of person with a certain type of mindset. But let's continue before I get too pulled off the track. Again, under the Hatch Ideas group on ohmTown, this is another Guardian article. Johnson & Johnson faces push to force global ban on talc baby powder sales. Move to hold shareholder vote follows withdrawal of products in U.S. and Canada and lawsuits alleging link to cancer cases. If you don't know about this, there has been some talk about this talc-based baby powder, where the materials in it have been linked to cancer or long-term health, and it's apparently because of carcinogenic fibers. Chrysotile fibers. And there have been other things in talc. I'd have to go and root around for it, because there was something else that I had heard about in talc that people didn't like. But anyway, this caught my attention. If there is a solid link to cancer, which with a shareholder vote follows withdrawal of product in US and Canada and lawsuits alleging link to cancer cases. It must have merit. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of researching this, but a lot of people have been brought up on baby powder. It has been used for decades. It says the company is now facing more than 34,000 lawsuits, including many from women who claim they used baby powder and later developed ovarian cancer. That is, I just recently watched Aaron Brockovich again, and it's fascinating that there's who knows how much of this was known prior. A lot of research is done, a lot of results from the area of processing where people get sick and things like that, and a company will just kind of usher it away. And this is that same level, 34,000 lawsuits. There are a lot of people that get harmed when the possibility of something being known or it actually existing and being suppressed, right? But I don't know about that in this case, but 34,000 lawsuits is quite significant to come out of the dark like this. It says, however, talc deposits can sometimes be contaminated with asbestos, a mineral that can cause cancer if its fibers enter the body. Cornstarch can be used as a replacement. So we'll see how long this has been known and what the long-term ramifications are, and if it's even limited to just ovarian cancer, because it certainly doesn't have to be limited to that to be a factor. This next article is in Smack Talk. It's a group. Did I mention who it was that wrote this one? No, sorry. That last article, the one from Johnson & Johnson, was written by Jasper Jolly. This next article is Apple is considering Face ID, adding Face ID to 24-inch iMac, or it considered it. The article is over on Apple Insider, written by Malcolm Owen. Adding Face ID and other technologies to the entirety of Apple devices would make it seamless in how you access a system, and I think that it would be great. The technology is integrated into the MacBook lines, iPad and iPhone. Might as well add it to its iMac lines, and Touch ID is added as well. So not necessarily to the iMac, but to the keyboard. It would make everything just seamless, being able to log in without a password because it's detecting your face, being able to pay with your face or with your hand just by touching it. Touch ID allows you to just pay. I think that would be great. And Apple products just make it just drop dead simple to do everything, from backups and restores to being able to copy and paste across any device that you have in your local ecosystem. It's marvelous. And when I can easily talk somebody through the process of doing a cloud restore, I love it. And once they get it down for their own device, their Apple device, piece of cake. Every time something really hinky happens, do a quick restore from the cloud and you're done. It's just amazing. Well, go over to Apple Insider and read this article, and you'll be able to find out more and get more context to it if you are oh so motivated. This next article is The Word in Tech. Verizon's Phone contracts are all 3 years now. We've seen contracts contract and expand in my lifetime. So since I've been using cellular services, they have expanded and contracted. So they've been down to 0 if you just pay for the device, all the way up to 3 years, and now we're back to 3 years. And I'm sure that there are options. For 1 year, you just pay different amounts. Pardon me. So if you're looking to get a new phone, you can probably pay a spectrum of them. But it says that they've gotten rid of the 24 and 30-month contracts for all devices, including phones, hotspots, and smartwatches. I'm going to click this link. Takes you to The Verge. Emma Roth wrote this article. And says if you're looking to buy a new phone at Verizon, you now only have 2 options: buy the device outright or pay installments for 3 years. Yeah, I don't know how hard and fast that rule is, but it may be exactly that in all markets. I don't know. But if they can squeeze another few percent by extending it to 36 months, unless it's interest free, I'm not really sure what the benefit is other than locking you into a service plan for 3 years. So you might pay more for the plan, or it might just simply be that you're locked in for 3 years. And then you have to pay that early termination fee if you do walk away. But some other competitors might actually pay that. But if you're interested in it, you can go over to The Verge and find out some more. For me, I would encourage you to, if you're going to buy a new phone, buy a device that you don't have to finance, that does the job of what you're looking for and isn't really a status item. Mainly because if you're going into debt for a phone, you better keep it beyond what you normally keep it at, because you're paying more each month simply because you're financing it, or if it's a contract like Verizon, you're paying for that service plan at a different rate, perhaps. But that extra burden isn't worth just having, the next greatest phone, unless you're making enough that it makes economic sense and you don't really care about simply having a phone that does the job. I like the latest tech, so, but I wouldn't sign a 3-year contract now unless I have 0 other option, which could happen. Who knows? This next article is Smack Talk. Entry-level M2 MacBook Pro might not have ProMotion display. This article is from Apple Insider, written again by Malcolm Owen. Malcolm Owen might be the MacBook Pro writer. Might be their focus. I'm not sure. But the last 2 articles have been from Malcolm Owen. So if the ProMotion display is not in the entry-level MacBook Pro, and I would not be surprised by that, because Apple tends to create strata of item so that it hits a certain price point, and it's just maybe pushing you to get the next highest one. And then you look at that one and you go, well, the next one is just $150 more. Oh, yeah, I can do that. Sure. And by the time you push what your bulk rate is, right? What you as a customer go, no, it's just too much from where I started. You might be spending $250 more, and that's just juice, because the difference between one product and another for Apple is going to be marginal, and that's how they end up with 30, 40, 50% margins on their products. It's because they know, based on their history and their customers' performance, that if they add a little bit more service, a little bit more feature, a little bit more, even though it might cost them $5, they can charge you $150. Obviously, that's a bit hyperbolic. I don't know what their numbers are for items. Nobody really does except insiders, and that's probably very close to their chest. They're not going to let that get released. A lot of people can have done in the past, taken a device apart, looking at all of the parts just to add up how much it costs to build. And sometimes Apple will release exactly what their margin is in a business report, and it's kind of stuffed in there somewhere that they have margins of, or as high as, or between X and Y. So if you're interested in it, go over to Apple Insider and look for that article. You can always find it on ohmTown. You just have to do a search for entry level M2, and you'll probably find several article snippets. But you always have to go to get the full story, or anything really of major substance. You have to go to the site and read it. That's what I encourage everybody to do. Go read the article. I can only say so much, because I try and put together a broad expanse of news headlines. And today might be a little short, so I didn't do as many articles as I would normally do. The Daily News Show is in essence this show that you're listening to and or watching. Not retreat, but resistance and resilience when faced with doomsday. Look to community. So it's an article. It's from commondreams.org. The little snippet is "We can't survive alone." I chose this simply because one of the three main overarching categories of interest of mine, beyond business and technology, is society. And we are all part of a society. If you are engaged in social networking, if you're sitting on Twitch watching people play games, you are a member of society, and so your actions have consequences, both positive and negative, whatever they might be. We are part of a massive society, as well as niches of society, both greater and smaller, in groups and out groups, as sociologists call them. This article goes into a discussion about it. I didn't dig around in this. What caught my eye was the statement, "No retreat, but resistance and resilience. When faced with doomsday, look to community," which happens quite a bit when a problem occurs, when there is great misfortune somewhere, when there is a terrorist act or a natural disaster. Community tends to form quickly around solving an immediate problem. While that might not persist long term in great numbers tend to converge on solving an immediate problem, be it flood or fire or earthquake, an accident that occurs. It's quite interesting, and a nod to society, and those who are empathic, sympathetic, compassionate, understanding. Those people are those that run into catastrophe and issue and problem. They go in to solve the immediate and those are the immediate responders, but others flock around to facilitate as well, to help. And that's all part of community. And that's what I delight in. That's what I really like to see, what I like to hear about. And then the opposite of this is the antisocial, sociopathic, which you can't discount. These people exist, and they tend to be integrated into society, but would walk away rather than assist. And that's just how, and some people are, and you can't really fault. It's just the way that people are. They too are part of community. They don't actively acknowledge it though. Anyway, this article, along with many other things, is politically charged by drawing in Donald Trump into the conversation. But if you are interested in reading more about this, it's an article on Common Dreams titled "Not Retreat, but Resistance and Resilience When Faced with Doomsday, Look to Community." It's written by Frida Berrigan. And you might be interested in reading more about this, right? It wasn't, one of the statements in this article is, it wasn't until I was standing in line at the used bookstore with a $1 copy of How to Build a Covert Off-the-Grid Safe House Away from the Prying Eyes of the Government that I saw my behavior clearly. I have been seeking to assuage my anxiety about everything from rising fascism to rising sea levels, peaks in the cost of fuel, and the persistence of the pandemic by buying books. Not reading the books, mind you, just buying them. It's interesting. And not everybody, it's always a spectrum, right? There are people that are just rolling with it, and there are people that are fighting whatever it is. And we are all somewhere on that spectrum. So if you're really interested in it, you can go over to Common Dreams and read a little bit more. This is largely a coping mechanism, buying things, and not necessarily utilizing them. But there's a whole lot more to this, and I don't do a deep dive into any of these topics, simply for time's sake, and it takes a considerable amount of due diligence to discuss them any deeper than this. But we can, if you are interested, feel free to ask questions. We can talk about it in greater detail. If you are so motivated, go over to ohmTown.com, sign in, post a message. That would be wonderful. Obviously, you can hang out here on Twitch with me and talk, ask questions. I can actually throw you up there, bunk, 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 up in that empty space up there. There's actually a space for alerts if you follow, and any other alert that comes out of Twitch would go up there. But there's room for me to throw a camera if you want to call my Zoom, and I will throw your window up there. So this next article is Stock Marketeers. It's a group about the stock market and businesses from the perspective of holistic analysis, and not just in the power vacuum that is a stock and day trading and stock market and investing. There's a lot of little silos, but when you look at things holistically, you can make more long-term judgments, whereas things like day trading, you're looking for these short snippets of growth or declines if you're short selling, and there's a bunch of other options in there for seeking profit. But this article is at Market Watch, written by I think it's Teresa Poletti and Jeremy Owens. $1.4 trillion, question mark. Big tech's pandemic year produces mind-boggling financial results. So Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Microsoft collectively increased their profit more than 55% in 2021 from a base that was already a record, while sales grew 27% to a total that would make the companies a top 15 world economy. Yeah. What can I say? Tech has been booming because, as I tell my compatriots, they would all be out of a job if not for tech over the last 2 years. Um, More people leaned on tech more than pretty much any other time in uh, American history and maybe world history, because if everybody was suffering the same way, they all had to lean on tech, which means that tech had to blossom in every country that utilized or was suffering from the pandemic. Otherwise, basically industry shut down entirely. So I can understand where, the if it didn't make economic sense for a country to spend money on infrastructure during the pandemic to allow technology out to its citizens, you might have complete collapse of the economy. Stands to reason if you don't have tech to actually facilitate purchases and learning and conducting business and obtaining goods and services and food and everything else in between all of those points, you're pretty much done. You revert back to non-tech ways that still use tech to make them more effective and efficient, but you can grow food at home in your basement or in your backyard pretty darn easy. All you need are seeds. Hopefully the distribution system can still facilitate selling those seeds. That might be difficult. But anyway, these are the big known tech companies. There are a lot of other tech companies that are blossoming just as much as a percentage of their revenue from the previous years, pre-pandemic. And these are just the biggest name brand ones. And that will continue to happen, at least in my estimation, for the foreseeable future. Even when we do get given by employers the go ahead to return, or even the mandate to return, many of us won't return full force. And it's tough to argue with the point that we have become more effective in delivering our products and services by exploiting technology and not having to spend that time traveling. It just doesn't make any economic or personal sense anymore. So let's keep on going with this. What do you think of all of this news so far? If you think it's neat and interesting, let's keep on talking about it. I'll be doing this again tomorrow, 6 p.m. This article here is over on the Mobile Show, and it's a show that I want to launch. Talks about news that's aggregated within the mobile environment. This article is from New York Times. It says narrated by Keith Romer. Let me see. Written by Keith Romer, produced by Jack Disadoro. Sorry, there you go. Disadoro and Aaron Esposito. If you didn't think poker and artificial intelligence could be bedfellows, think again. So one of my big points that I say to people who are leaving high school, going into college, making a decision about where they want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I keep reiterating this point with people that artificial intelligence and machine learning will be exploited in the area of automation. And if your job is a formula, So if it is an algorithm, if you can take what you do and say, here is step one, here is step two, here is step three, then it can be automated and you're out of a job. All it takes is that threshold of investment to make more economic sense than keeping a human being employed. And in many, many cases, it has not made economic sense for a considerable amount of time, except that the means haven't been there for the employer to replace you with a robot. Um, One field in particular that I don't think will ever be automated is things like daycare and things like early school, where all the way up to high school, the end of high school, where you're still making a human empathic, sympathetic, compassionate, one that can relate to other humans. Making a human be a human and not a robot can only be done by a human. At this time, we'll see when Westworld springs into existence. You can't tell the difference between a human and a robot, android, or whatever it is that humans create. Um, there's no difference, and many jobs would disappear. But artificial intelligence has been analyzing poker for many years, and machine learning and artificial intelligence knows, depending on what cards are on the table, exactly the statistical significance of every possible move. And only the most irrational move would throw off an artificial intelligence, except it already knows even irrational ones because it has all of its past learning still in tow behind the primary results of its analysis. It can always say down to the 100,000th of a decimal what the chances are of somebody doing an irrational move. Individuals using an algorithmic solver program to analyze potential weaknesses about themselves and their opponents, thus gaining an advantage. This is like chess, what really amounts to a lower level artificial intelligence. The current trend in analysis is Go, because it has so many more options for someone to do. Let's see if there's anything else in here. That are these new generations of AI tools merely a continuation of a longer pattern of technological innovation in poker, or does it mark an irreversible structural shift? One thing's for certain, the stakes are high. That's pithy. That ending is a nice pithy little, that's my kind of closing. I dig it. Yeah, this is evolutionary. And while we sleep or get drunk or have to drive to work, right? AI and machine learning is doing nothing but what it's told to do, with copious amounts of information being fed into it and it learning on its own. AI will eventually exceed us because we don't have total recall. But AI and machine learning is limited by the humans that create it and the complexity of its code. So, as with everything that we do, it'll get more and more complex and eventually be smarter and more capable than us. And maybe at that point, we'll be able to just give over control of the world to our artificially intelligent creations, and we'll all simply enable automation and this artificial intelligence to plant the crops, grow the crops, deliver the food, and we can sit on beaches and not worry about money and shelter, all of the food, anything. We'll just be able to live the Star Trek life, right? no need for anything because we've got the tech to eliminate all of these hurdles, the struggles in being the human animal. This last article is in Order of the Grape, which is about wine. An Irish recipe is designed for year-round indulgence. Um, I wanted to see what more was here, and it says Irish cream's chocolate kiss decadence tastes timeless, but its history is brief. It's only been around since 1973 when Bailey's Irish Cream was created in roughly 45 minutes of at the behest of a distillery's parent company. So if you've never had Bailey's Irish Cream, it is wonderful. It's rich, it's flavorful, and it can go into various drinks to give it a little bit more oomph. I mean, I don't want to use umami, but it gives it that something that's really good in a drink. And then it says, thankfully, these rules don't apply when you make your own Irish cream at home. To create a liqueur that can add decadence to a cup of coffee, build a killer cocktail like a mudslide. And if you've never had a mudslide, go look up a recipe and make it. You will not regret that. And then they say Irish whiskey is the backbone of Irish cream. I just got a bottle of Tullamore Dew. My first bottle of Tullamore Dew. We'll see how much I like it. I haven't tried it yet. It's still sitting in its box. So I think it's 12 years. We'll see. I don't remember which one it was that I ended up buying. But at any rate, let's click on this link here. It'll take you to VinePair. They always have really neat graphics. Rich Manning is the writer, and Ariella Besson, I think it is the illustrator for that image. Go in and read the rest of it. That right there is a mudslide, and you can fall flat on your face by drinking those. So homemade Irish cream, that's all you need. And then they talk about the Ovechkin, I guess. So I won't go into all of this. It's their article. You can go and read it and get a good recipe. VinePair is a great site. I kind of go sipping through it, so to speak. Okay, they're not all gems, but anyway. Maybe you'll like it. Go and check it out, vinepair.com. Okay, with that in mind, I think I am done today. I've got some changes to ohmTown coming. I'm going to be adding the content from the last 30 days over to ohmTown directly to listen to on ohmTown. I'm going to be adding it to YouTube. I'll be posting links into Twitter and spinning up the podcast version of this. Unfortunately, there's no video podcast version. So what's going to end up happening is it'll be hosted on ohmTown.com as a form of, I guess, VOD, because Twitch right now doesn't allow me to store my VODs indefinitely. I don't know if they allow that for everybody at some stage, longer term VOD review. But I'm not at that state. I need people to follow so that I can get to affiliate and then partner and so on. But I'm only 30 days into this as a steady event. But I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. and we'll talk about some more news. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.